Hola estudiantes! It is time for another video about commands. Today we're going to be talking about negative to commands, and this is when you are telling somebody once again familiar with you to not do something. No cantes más, por favor. Please don't sing anymore. So, once again, back to our grid that we have with all of the different commands, and we're going to be focusing today on the column that says El mandato familiar tu, pero negativo. So we're focusing on the negative to commands, telling our friends not to do things. This one has 3 steps as far as how to conjugate the negative to commands. The first step, and this is the most important, is that you are going to conjugate to the yo form in the present tense. The reason this is so important is you're going to get a lot of different things that would be irregular, but they're not considered irregular because you go to the yo form first. So once you get to the yo form, you are then going to drop the o. So you're going to take the o off of the end of whatever the yo form is, and then do step 3, which is adding the opposite verb ending of the to form. So you're going to take AR verbs, which generally add an AS in the to form, but we're going to do the opposite, and we're going to take the ER-IR ending. So that's why we're calling it the opposite verb ending. So AR is going to have an ES, and the ER and IR are going to take the AS from the AR verbs. So we just kind of flip-flop what the endings are, and they have the opposite ending. So it's pretty easy just to remember you have to go to the to form, but you're going to flip-flop if it's an AR or ER ending. Of course we have irregulars, but this time we only have 5, so that's less than before. The 5 irregulars are no vayas from ear, no des from dar, no seas from ser, no estés from a star, and no sepas from saber. And you will notice that the one thing all 5 of these verbs have in common is that if you conjugate them to the yo form in the present tense, they don't end with an O, so they can't follow the rules. So if you ever forget what these 5 are, you conjugate to the yo form, you can't drop an O because there isn't one, you know it's one of the 5 irregulars. Some notes at the bottom of the page that are also important. Although they're not considered irregular, we do have to worry about car, gar, zar, because otherwise the sounds will be off. Because we're using those opposite verb endings, the car, gar, zars apply. That's just a spelling change. It doesn't actually change the way you say the verb. Reflexive pronouns can never, ever, ever be attached when it's a negative command. So we had to attach them when it was affirmative. However, with negative, you put it before the verb again like we've done in the past. We'll go over a few examples of that. But first, I think it's time we sing about our irregulars. Also on the back of your sheet, you're going to see this song written on there. And this one works. You'll notice that it isn't in the to form, but I'm going to sing it in the to form for you today. So this one is actually written for the usted verbs for commands, but they're the same. You just add an S to the end of them. Ir is vayas, dar is des, ser is seyas, estars is stes. But there's one more irregular command. Saber is sepas, don't you understand? Again, because they're negative, it's going to be no vayas, no des, no seas, no estés, no sepas. But if you can get to these roots, the irregular root, then you're going to find that putting on the to ending is no big deal. Por favor, no cantes más. I feel like you all think that every time I come up with a new song, and just to re-emphasize, no cantes más, me duelen los oídos. He really truly does look in pain. Hopefully my singing isn't quite that bad, but lo siento if it is. Okay, aquí tenemos la práctica. Take a minute, pause this, see if you can go through and figure out what the conjugations would be for the negative to commands. I will ask that you put a no in front of each one because they are all going to be negative. If they were affirmative, we'd conjugate them to the L form, but they're not. So put a no before each of these and then see if you can do it correctly. And remember that the reflexive pronouns have to go in front this time now that they're negative. Okay, aquí vamos. No escuches. So we conjugated it to the yo form, dropped the O, and added the opposite verb ending. No te vayas. Don't leave. So we took the te and we put it in front of the verb. We went to the irregular vaya in the to form and we added the s. Juegues. No juegues al voleibol. Don't play volleyball. So here you notice that we also have the stem changer because the yo form has a stem change, but we had to make it a Kargarzar spelling change to maintain the right sound. No juegue, so we added that U after the G. No te pongas la chaqueta. Don't put on your jacket. Once again, this is a very irregular, well, it seems irregular, but it's not. It's not one of our 5 because you have to go to the yo form first. This is an example of going to the pongo, then dropping the O and adding the opposite verb ending. So don't forget that step of going to the yo form. No leas. Another irregular. No vayas. No bailes. This is something I don't feel you should ever tell anyone. If they want to dance, let them dance. No comas comida basura. No vivas. Not exactly sure when you would tell somebody not to live. Maybe no vivas in Kansas. Don't live in Kansas. No te laves. Another one we try not to often tell people not to wash themselves. No dones. And no empieces. And you'll notice this last one is another Kargarzar, so we had to change the spelling from the Z to the C to maintain that correct sound. If you have any questions about this, feel free to bring those questions ready to clase mañana. Y para terminar, hazlo o no lo hagas, pero no lo intentes. So we've got an affirmative and a few negative commands here, and what I want you to do to get your puntos para ver el video hoy, send me a text at the number at the bottom of the screen and tell me, primero, ¿qué significa en inglés? Y segundo, ¿estás de acuerdo con lo que dice la frase? ¿Estás de acuerdo? Significa, do you agree con lo que dice esta frase? Mándame un texto, por favor. Nos vemos. Adiós.